He's gonna go.
Good evening. This is the Lincoln City Council meeting. Today is Thursday, October 17th, 2024. It is 6 p.m. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Nelson, invocation, please.
This is a reading from Psalm 91. You who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, or the arrows that fly by day, or the pestilence that stalks in darkness, or the destruction that wastes at noonday. Let us pray. Lord God, under the shelter of your wings, we find the refuge that we seek from the evil one and all his evil designs. We pray, Lord, that you will protect us, keep us safe as we trudge through this life here on your creation. We pray that you would send your spirit to be with us this evening at this meeting, to guide the council in their discussions, their deliberations, and their decisions, and to guide the citizens of this city and to protect them and keep them safe from any harms that may come their way. Pray that you will be with us in this evening and in the days to come to keep us safe and happy and joyous. We pray all this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Auditor, who did roll call this?
Nebraska.
Here.
Artavia. Here. Davis. Here. Aaronson.
Here.
And Mayor Berlin.
Here.
Did you get my here?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Number 5 is the agenda approval. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. We're going to add the gaming site app for furry friends and DJs. And then also we're going to add transfer of ownership, DJs, alcohol license. And then also October payables, please. No, October, the consent agenda. For the October. Correct, yeah, we want to add October payables, please. Okay. So we have a first, is there a second?
I second.
First by Councilwoman Davis, second by Councilman Artavia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so motion carries for that. And I would also like to amend the agenda to include under old business renaming to include a possible land acquisition as item number 8. Make a motion to approve that amended agenda. We have a first.
Yeah, I'll second.
And a second, first by Councilman Davis, second by Councilman Bjornstam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. And any other amendments? All right, so now we need then a motion to amend or a motion to approve the amended agenda. I'll make a motion to approve our amended agenda. We have a first by Councilwoman Davis. Is there a second?
I second.
Councilman Artadia, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Number 6, we have now the comment period. If you have comments and on any of the items that are on the agenda, please come up to the podium, state your name. Yes, sir.
Hello, Rob Dixon. I just have a question for the lagoons. I know it's being brought up a little bit, I have to speak before they do, so I don't know what they have to talk about, but I'm just wondering, what's the holdup on it? You guys can help me out with that?
Are you talking about number 9 or former 8?
Yeah, sewer review. Yeah, just sewer review. Yeah, sewer review. That was started a couple of years ago, and it's only, seems like we're getting much ground taken care of everything.
Right,
I'm
and
just wondering where we're at.
would you like to address that?
Council members. So this sewer regionalization project, just a number of steps going through. Right now, the plan specs have been at the, or put it, DEQ, or say, probably close to 3 months at this point, going through the process. Holland from SEH did mention, sent an email out this morning actually that they got some preliminary comments back, but it sounded like it'd be another few weeks probably before they had all the comments back. So that's where it's at from a plan standpoint. Monty and I have been working on the easement acquisition, and Monty will talk a little bit more to that down the road here. And then also, actually Kevin and I, along with Daniel Schwartz with Nexus, have been working with DES and FEMA on the grants. And they just have questions after questions, trying to give them all their information. And then so they're still looking, even though they've awarded it, they're looking to have more of that actual allotment of funds provided here, hopefully by the end of the year, what it sounds like. So I think everything is coming together. It's just been at a longer time frame than I think anyone anticipated with the hearing at this point.
2 things, and so then to piggyback, it's just dotting your i's, crossing your t's with extra documentation or requests from FEMA, DEQ. Is that
Correct.
why?
Yep.
And then the easements too, right? We're having problems with the.
Yeah, just.
Okay, I don't know if he was answering the questions that you had.
Yeah, no, I
That's
just
what
kind of
was.
wonder where we're at, and what's holding it up. Been going for probably at least 3 years. And I know when I left 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, they were in bad shape then. So I really feared, Terry trying to take care of these two.
The
But
lagoons.
yes, they were bad, and I did contact the two myself to find out what was going on. They were barely passing their tests. They told me that the city of Lincoln better do something,
And I think on our end of it, we're doing everything that we're supposed to do is kind of dependent on the other entities, the FEMA, DEQ, and the SEH with the regionalization itself, correct?
Correct. Yeah. They're the ones holding this up.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's just part of that whole process, and the things with doing that DES, that's been drug out a lot longer than anyone anticipated. They've kind of changed some of their process on how they do these projects, and made this change in the middle of this one and other ones throughout the state. So So everyone that's kind of had that funding source through brick grants is kind of dealing with that at this point, so. So.
What did they talk that we needed to get something done? If we start discharging, having to get kill a fish or something in the streams, then we're gonna have EPA down on our throats. We don't want that. So I was just wondering why it's farther now.
Well, and I know on my end of it, the records that we, or reports that we, updates that we were getting rather, from Holland last year, we're at 90%. Then for like a year, it was 90%, but I think that there's been a lot of progress made in the last few months specifically, that he's been finally getting the panels and all of that.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, but I don't know if did they raise the rate on us or the influence? I heard that.
I'm going to let our attorney address that. I got it.
But just saying we need to get something done, otherwise I'm gonna come in. Always. So,
You're out of luck, we don't got no permits for that.
Don't need one then, right?
Thank you. A second call for public comment.
Elizabeth Fleming, and I just have a question on new business number 11. I know the attorney's gonna address it. But it was the vacation of right of way with Calgary Avenue. My question was, is that this was city property? And so we've kind of given it to the church, is that legal? That city property doesn't have to go on bids. So,
My understanding is you're vacating the platted road. And the dedications to the public, but the ownership reverts back to the property from which it came. So this is not the same as a city property that the city has fee title and it's selling. So there's not a bidding requirement. We're not selling anything to the church. We're vacating a road, which then returns the road from being a dedicated space for the public back to the original land.
so you're saying the church was the original landowner when we came up with that road?
Let's not. I'm probably not explaining that very well, but.
Okay. Okay, I'm not
The lots extend, most lots extend to the center line of the street. And that's part of the lot, but it's been dedicated to the public. And so
Okay.
when the street's vacated here, the lot size kind of corresponds. I don't know if I'm explaining that quite right, but that's my understanding of what's happening here.
Okay, so from the middle of that street over, then that would be, the property would go back to
Yeah,
order.
I'm not familiar with what the actual map looks like. I don't know if you want to address that or not, but I'm not concerned with what your question is, which is that city property is
Right,
being given away, right?
right,
Vacating-
that's my question, I just.
We're vacating a public street and all that does is eliminates the public's right of way on that property.
Okay, so as a public street, that's not a city owned piece of property then?
No.
Okay, that's my question.
Thanks. All right. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the actual plat, what it looks like. It's just that all we're doing is we're vacating the property.
And I should mention that this was something that was done prior, and it just didn't go all the way.
Yes, yeah, I was, on that way back when, I just wanted to make sure, because I never thought of it at the time. That, if we were doing something legal or illegal, so I just wanted to clarify, because I wasn't voting to do that.
Correct.
So.
So we'll make sure.
I just wanted to cover myself.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Just as a clarification, right of way is not owned by a public entity. It is owned by the properties adjacent to the right of way. It is an easement for public access for transportation or utilities across that strip of property. The entire strip of this property did come out of the plat that was the property that became the church property. And originally it was part of the lot that is the church property right now, but then it got replatted. And the road used to run north-south on the west end of the property, now runs east-west on the north end of the property. And so the entire strip, 8-foot strip, did come out of the piece of land that the church ended up buying.
Thank you. We'll have, first, second, now third call for public hearing. There you see none, we'll carry on to the consent agenda. Make a motion to approve our consent agenda. We have the first from Councilman Davis.
A second.
Second from Councilman Bjornstad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And so moved. So number 8 on, under old business is the possible land acquisition. I received a phone call today, that there is interest in, and somebody ready to put their offer bid in for the building that council has been thinking about purchasing. So at this meeting, if it is something that the city would like to move forward with, then we need to make that decision today and put in an offer. One thing that I want to share with anybody that's listening online or here, with the growth of the city, it is a given, it's understood that we're gonna have more employees, we're gonna have more police officers, we're gonna have more need for space. At this point, there are 4 employees working within 3 offices. A police department, now granted, there's shifts, so you're not right on top of each other, but it is a need. And if we don't make a purchase here, we're going to have to buy land, build an office setting, regardless of whether that's for PD, public works, city hall, whatever. You're gonna have to buy land. We're gonna have to hire contractors to come in, build it. And I suspect it's gonna cost more than what we would be bidding on here. We have had conversations about property taxes. Well, one really has nothing to do with the other, because we're still gonna have income coming into the city. There would be no loan. This would be paid from earnings, correct me if I'm wrong, earnings from CDs. So it's not additional taxpayer dollars, it's earnings on those tax dollars that we have received historically. It's move-in ready. Would we want to do some repairs on it or updates? Yes. But they wouldn't be necessary or required for now. We could wait on some of those things. But in my and another thing is, we've got the land that's attached between Millennium and that building. Back when I was on Park Board, it was talked about. When I was on planning and zoning, it was talked about. People want a pool, a splash pad. We don't finances and land have kept that out of the picture. Now we have an opportunity to perhaps partner with the Park District. And again, this is discussion with the council and Park Board, whether they want to do something, if we do purchase the property. But the land is there. We could partner and finally get that accomplished within a year's time. If we don't do that, then the same situation is going to come across where land isn't available. And yes, if we do build, say, in that new development, we're still looking at 4 or 5, how many years down the road? It's been part of the city's comprehensive plan as well as parks. prices aren't gonna go down, they're only gonna go up. We don't have the option at this point. There is. I don't know if the purchase agreement has been gone through, but we are in the time crunch as far as if we're going to do it, we need to vote to do it tonight. So we can put an offer in. And so, I guess, discussion with council, thoughts?
My thought process is, we're in a good position to definitely put in an offer. We would be silly to not partake, my opinion, in trying to at least put in an offer and see what can happen. If they deny it, if they go with the other offer, fine and dandy, we're in the same boat where we're at, nothing changes. If they do, then we have more options, more opportunities for the city, we can move forward. It's my opinion, so for me, I think putting in an offer would be beneficial. That's my opinion. Anybody else?
I definitely understand the wanted need to look forward, like look into the future. We are gonna need more office space. Honestly, we probably could have used it several years ago. But it's probably the accountant in me saying that we need to focus on the bills we have today rather than spending this money that we have available to us on something that is gonna be a future need. So I have a hard time justifying spending hundreds of thousands on another building at this time. Knowing we do have big bills coming up and those funds could go towards that.
However, though, those funds can't go towards that. These funds are strictly tied into for infrastructure, so they couldn't go for anything else.
These funds have to
You
be
know what I mean?
transferred to the general account first, and then from there they can go like.
I don't think, Tanya, correct us if we're wrong though, but didn't we set funds specifically aside just for this? Like, we're not using other,
That's $700,000.
we have a certain amount of funds in our budget strictly for this project.
We did set aside those funds that could be used for that or other items.
Right, yeah, okay, so we're not utilizing
You're not
necessarily
utilizing any-
outside funds, we're utilizing just those funds that we put aside already that was in our budget, correct?
But just to clarify, auditor, is it something that could be used for roads? I know it can't be used, you said, for sewer regionalization, correct?
It cannot.
But it is for infrastructure, can it be used for roads?
I think we're talking about two different things. We have dedicated. So we have prairie dog funds and ARPA money. Okay, that's not included in any of this, and the other funds is some specials from bonding that's going to be maturing. And that is the money that would have to go to a general account and then be moved to where.
Yeah, I guess that was the accounts that I was,
Right, yeah, the CDO ones, right?
well,
Or not,
they were previously specials that,
Right, and that's, okay, and I guess we didn't have,
okay, maybe we were speaking of different things.
Right.
then. Oh,
right, yeah, no, this is the money that was set aside, but you did bring up specials and that's a good thing. If we can buy apples today at $5 a pound. Or 3 years down the road, spend $500 a pound. Not have the money in our account because there are people that want to talk, use every penny that the city has, which you can't do because it still needs to operate. To take those dollars and have to use specials to buy things, have to use specials on top of the sewer regionalization. Not to say that that's gonna have to happen, but if we can afford $5 today, but we're not gonna be able to afford $500 in 3 years, somebody's gonna be paying for it. It's not, there are 4 staff, 3 offices. And just to jump ahead of any conversation, I'm sharing an office now. So. It's not dedicated for me, so, that being said. It's. Forward thinking is gonna cost the city more, it's gonna cost the residents more. 3 years from now. Than it would today. I know that there's discussions about emptying out the blue building and the white one. Those are full. Remodeling would be just as expensive there as it would be to buy this property. So, and I'm sorry, no, I look at you, I ended up talking after. So, I'm sorry.
Mayor, I can see the logic and the reason in why a person would want to really look into this opportunity. But I've also been contacted by citizens who are very concerned and do not agree with us spending money at this point in time. And so I feel a little bit torn.
Well, and I've had conversations on both sides, but also you have people that say, absolutely, we want this, we've been asking for this. I mean, former councils have said repeatedly, PD needs its own place, we need to get up. Council was about to build at one point, or to provide the money to remodel. So, you know, you can have a handful of people here, and I'm not saying that, but we've all had people say the same things to all of us. Good, bad, and I mean, I think those conversations are gonna happen. But you have to run it like a, you can't be reactive all the time. This isn't. It was discussed years and years and years, like you said. It's not gonna change. We've got the money to do it, we may not tomorrow. And yes, we do have infrastructure, but there are grants available for some of those things. I don't know, Councilman Praska, do you have anything to say before?
I have nothing to add right now.
So,
I would say if the funds that we would be looking at for this cannot go towards something like a sewer regionalization, I would be more willing to look at those. It would be funds that can be used in other places like the sewer regionalization, I would be very hesitant to use.
right, and this is earmarked.
You can't use prairie dogs or ARPA money for anything other than your sewer, water regionalization, water towers. So,
Want the sewer be part of the sewer regionalization?
right, what I'm saying is that you can't use prairie
Oh,
dogs
okay, of course, oh, sorry.
for anything
Right,
but
other than-
those items.
And then one of the conversation points that I'd like to make is, and Auditor Wilson, I'll let you explain it, because the, how much the city already between the ARPA, the prairie dog, and the city is at what percentage of the project costs that we're covering already?
Well, you guys, okay, so that's part of the agenda when we get down to the auditor reports. I have to do a report by the end of November 30th for the prairie dog funds, and I have to, by December, I have to designate the ARPA funds. So I did include some stuff in your packets for that, and I will have it on the agenda for November 7th for final decision, so I can change these reports. But you know, you take your, if you were to take your prairie dog funds, which is 1,997,900 something. Plus, if you decided to take your 603,000 that were the ARPA funds and use that also for the, you know, you're funding 50% of that already. The city has to have money for other things, and that's just the way it is. You can't, as the city, you know, we have a lot of other things we have to do. You can't take all of your money and put it into the sewage. Besides that, you also have the grant that's going to be covering some of that.
For clarification, we're not talking ARPA or Prairie Dog, correct? So
No.
if we're not, then we should keep those names out. Whatever we're talking about, we are not
Correct.
talking those funds, period, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, people like to, I think sometimes throw that, but you have to use this, but you can't use that with those, and we focus too much on those, so that's a great point to point out.
Madam Mayor, are we talking about using interest off of those funds?
No, we actually have a CD, so talking with the bank and getting ideas. There's more CDs, and it would be better just to take one of the CDs and cash it in and pay for the building.
General funds.
Correct.
Or interest off of general.
Correct.
And yes, we have to be prepared, we do have money for prepared. There's a new program that the director of Public Works, you know, initiated to allow for some of that capital improvement, so there is that's going on currently. But is it a good use of those taxpayer dollars to have it sitting here for something that might happen? And then costing the city more money. And not having the money to cover that increased cost. I'm not an accountant. Started that way and right away it's not for me. However, with that fine, I understand all of it. But I 100% agree that it's not ideal because we do have bills, but we're always gonna have bills. Always. The city of Bismarck, Fargo, Minot, you know, Rugby, whatever size town it is. But we are at a point where the city is growing. In the time that I've been here, it's nearly doubled in population. And we've just annexed in something that's going to nearly double the size of the town. It's going to, at what point do we move from keeping something because we don't really want to spend the money, or grow with the town and have the ability to grow with the town? Because it's not a maybe we're gonna need it, it is a needed. It's not an if, it's one. And nobody's gonna wanna write that $2 million check in 3 years. I haven't priced it out, so I'm just saying. Okay, you never know.
And there are a lot of what ifs. There's unforeseens that cannot for sure be known.
And just the devil's advocate, say we have to come up with $3 million. We're gonna have to, this won't cover that. This would not make a dent in that. So, you know, for one bill, yes, it's a lot of money, and I'm not gonna say that's not. But in the grand scheme of any project, any purchase that the city has, in comparison to this dollar amount that we'd be working within, is relatively small. Not small, but it's not gonna make or break any project, emergency project that comes. The city hasn't necessarily prepared itself for big major expenses, or the pipes burst and we have to replace an entire city street or whatever, but we're working on that. But that doesn't negate what some of the students.
So what specifically are you looking for tonight?
Tonight, we have to decide if we're going to purchase it or not. That's the first thing. So we would need a motion to make an offer. If we decide we're going to make an offer, then I guess we have to decide on what that offer is going to be. Then tomorrow, I have a copy of the purchase agreement that was sent to me prior when we had discussed this other amount. I was told that's not gonna go. And so it would be tonight, we agree to put in an offer. Then tomorrow we put in that offer after having,
And here I have some concerns about the procedure that you're suggesting.
okay, the
So, and again, if we talk about the executive session, we shouldn't talk about the amounts, right? But at the last meeting, the council had an executive session for negotiation strategy. Council gave the council's negotiator some direction on starting the discussion with the seller. What I anticipated that would happen is that there would be a discussion with the seller. And if a price was reached in a preliminary manner, then what would be presented to the council would be a written purchase agreement with the terms besides the price. And I have reviewed the proposed purchase agreement that Mr. Union has prepared. But I don't, from my perspective, I'm not prepared to have the council vote to approve that. And so what I don't know what it means legally to say you need to put in an offer. An offer on the man has to be in writing. It has to be signed. And so what you're really doing is you're putting in an session. You can't make a binding offer without having the terms approved by the council. To some extent, municipalities and public entities buy property. The process of it is a little backwards. What you want is the seller to make an offer to us, and then we would come together as a council in the public setting and approve that offer, and then there would be an authorization to prepare to execute a purchase agreement.
Okay.
The only other way to do this would be for there to be conversations with the seller, get to a price, and then bring that back for the council to consider, either as part of an executive session for negotiations as to whether or not there be a different offer made or whatever. But until the city and the seller, if they reach an agreement, but until they reach an agreement, we can't really move forward with council action, because the council action should be in the form of approval of a fully formed purchase agreement that we would present to the council, and the council would vote then to authorize the mayor and the auditor to execute the purchase agreement by the city.
right,
So-
and on their end of it, the person that, because it's an organization, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
because they're ready to move in.
Right.
They need board approval.
Right.
So it's whether we would bid that higher than that. And then, from my understanding, because I just had a conversation with him mid-afternoon today.
Okay.
So I apologize for not contacting him. So what I'm gathering from it is they're in the same place as us. They need board approval. But before they would sign it, so we couldn't sign a purchase agreement, no, that would have to come. But we could, if we're going to, my thought process, if we're going to buy it, or if we want to buy it, we have to make that determination tonight. If nobody wants to buy it, it's off the table, we don't do anything. If we do want it, then we decide on a dollar amount and put that bid in with this, with the, that contingency on there. You know, the defaults, because the different line out this and that, but it is still conditional on the approval.
from council, so even if you do have the purchase agreement,
Right, I've
It
reviewed
would
the purchase
still-
agreement and I mean, I'm not prepared to tell the council that it's acceptable to sign as is. I mean,
Right.
you and I had some conversations about some things that I might want to have changed, and I don't think there's any major problems with it, but I'm certainly not prepared to tell you that if you get to that place, that it's ready to be signed, and I think there are things that to go over in an executive session, and you would have to understand what the terms are of that agreement and what the risks are potentially to the city. I don't know that there's anything inappropriate about it, but I'm not comfortable having a conversation about that in an open session. And we'd have to have an executive session for attorney-client consultation about the terms of the purchase agreement. As I understand, what you're looking for tonight would be approval as to, or direction as to a price or as a bid amount,
yes,
different from what the discussion was at the last meeting.
right, so for today, because we know if we don't take it, somebody else, or if we don't put in an offer, somebody else is going to have it. So we need, what I need to know is, do I continue with this? Are we going to put a bid in or not? If we're not, conversation over. If we are, what's the dollar amount so we can go forward? Because if we tell the seller, okay, yes, here's the offer that we have, this is our max dollar amount. We'll work out the details as far as like what we had talked, that earnest money and highlighting some of those other things. Then this would come up. And maybe I'm thinking of it backwards, but I guess
So would we have an executive session?
Yes.
First then?
But more just an executive session tonight, which
no,
Well, no,
And
right,
we
but
would-
like set up then in the future is what I'm saying.
but I don't know how you get to a bid price today.
Right, right.
I mean, unless the council wants to have an open discussion about a maximum amount that you want to put in as a bid, but that's typically not
I think we're past the negotiation part of it.
okay.
Because they have somebody that they're willing to accept their offer. So if we wanted, then we have to, in my mind,
Add our number in.
add our number into the pot. And it's either better than theirs or it's not. It's theirs or it's ours. So it's not a negotiation at this point because they're ready to take that other offer.
If I'm not mistaken, from what you said, it seems like you would probably more so recommend we have them tell us where we would have to be at to purchase the property.
You wouldn't get there either way, but. Yeah, I suppose the only thing the council could do tonight is you could pick a maximum price to make a. It's not really an offer because it's not binding. Because we need to have it as part of a written purchase agreement.
And if we have that, we've got the foundation. Right? I guess the first thing is, are we going to? That would either continue the conversation or discontinue.
I have to say that I'm a bit uncomfortable with, the way in which it's laid out, what you're saying. Attorney is, in the past, we've had some issues with approaching things in somewhat of a backwards style or way, where we start something in a way that's not procedurally the norm or correct, and it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I know that it's sort of the crux of the situation, but might not be ideal for me.
And I assume that the seller has not disclosed to us what the other bid is.
No, I asked. So if they won't tell who it is or the price, but that there is someone that is getting their approval. And I assume it's a matter of who gets the approval first.
And just to be clear, the range that we discussed on the third, you think that has that offer been?
That has been conveyed and the buyer agent said that was not. And when I had talked with our realtor, Mr. Uniman, he had stated that it would have to be more in line with what he had presented in his analysis. Which could be the exact same amount that was offered, who knows?
The extent that, to the extent that the council wants to move forward, have a motion and a discussion about a maximum bid. Certainly that could be you could do that publicly, here tonight, if that's the direction you want to go. I guess it would be the maximum bid that you're prepared to pay today. It wouldn't, I don't think it would bind you to buying the building, it would bind you to further negotiations, and I think that you would have to have another meeting or a special meeting to prove and a purchase of to that far. You know, both to be subject to both boards, city and the board for the seller agreeing to the terms.
So I guess the first stage is the city interested or not? Now, what are the wishes, Carrie, or I'm sorry, Councilman Nebraska?
Sorry, having a hard time unmuting. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Right now, I just don't think it's the right time to do this.
I guess for me, if the funds that would go towards this, not go towards something else, I would be okay looking at it with those funds.
I would be willing to put in an offer and see if they are willing to accept it or not, go from there.
All right, so I suspect we need a motion on whether to negotiate further with purchase of the building. Or, I'm sorry,
I was just gonna say, Madam Mayor, it's not really a negotiation, right? Because what
It's a
you're
purchase
asking the
order.
council for is a number. And that's a number, once you raise that number in a public forum, you can't start your bid less than that number, right? Which is the reason why we had the executive session on the third. So really what you're saying is that at this point, the council will be prepared to move forward with the purchase at a number. And,
Okay.
you know, you can get to that number in public here tonight, that I think you can do it that way.
Okay. So, then I guess now the discussion is what price.
When we had the executive session, discussed our range. Was everything within that range was denied by them?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the top of that range approximately, but
It was over 100,000 less. So at minimum, from what I was told today, that,
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, in thinking about this, the other disadvantage is that if this becomes a situation where you're bidding and somebody else is bidding, you're disclosing your
Mhm.
strategy and your bid in public.
So we need to
Do
have.
we have to disclose an amount? Or can we just say we're willing?
I have a question. Do we do a vote on if we want to go forward or not, and then if we say yes, have an executive session tomorrow? Just a question.
I think that would be a more appropriate way of
Perfect.
trying to finesse this. And that might allow some opportunity for consultation on the terms for suitable terms for a purchase agreement. We could have that conversation as well, if that's the direction you want to go.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Costa. So I guess we then need a motion to go forward with the acquisition. Verbiage, I guess,
I would
returning.
suggest that perhaps a motion to move forward with further negotiations with the seller. I mean, I think that's maybe where you're at now.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to further the discussion with the purchase of land and building. And then also, can I add into that an executive session? Or should that be separate?
Let's just do the motion.
Okay.
If it passes, council can schedule a special meeting. Those two things.
I'll make a motion to further discussion on the purchase of land and building.
We have a first, is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a first by Councilman Davis, second by Councilman Bjornsted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Bjornsted,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Artavia,
No,
Ms. Praska,
No.
Bergman,
Yes. So motion carries. Next then would be an executive session to schedule for tomorrow.
Madam Mayor, I think
Yes.
that what you want to do is the council should schedule a special notice, a special meeting. The meeting should include an executive session for attorney consultation and negotiation strategy.
We should give notice a few days too prior, right? Or,
Or you could have it as early as tomorrow. There's not a notice requirement for a planned special meeting. Yeah, I think that everything that would happen at this meeting could
Madam Mayor,
be in an executive session. But then you have to have a regular meeting or a special meeting before you finalize the purchase. So we could get to the point where you could make an offer of a purchase agreement subject to final approval of the council.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman
Can-
Preston.
can you just get back to me when that's going to be? I have to leave.
Yes, you're available tomorrow?
Yes, anytime after 4:30 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank you. So then, maybe we can talk, maybe tell me what I can contact.
I think that
The realtor?
this council may be to have a special meeting, schedule a special meeting tomorrow.
it's pretty short notice for me. I don't know that I'd be able to attend unless possibly by Zoom.
I'm available, that's for sure.
I would be, so,
If it's after 5, I would.
and what about your turn?
I'll be available.
Perfect. All right, well then we will.
Should we plan on a time and set that up so that we are set in stone?
Do you have? Because we could record. And relay that. Cause I know that, that's, sorry.
I don't know, and then start starting that too. I might, that might buy it.
And I can record. Cause it won't be televised anyways. So,
We could keep the time frame at 6. Is that too late or do we want a different time frame?
I'm open, so I guess it's anybody else's schedule.
Would that work maybe for Zoom for 6?
I'm not sure.
Better try to know exactly. 9:36.
It's a sad state of my life, but I got nothing going on today, so.
So 5:36.
I would say 6.
Okay.
It's gotta go 6 p.m. So then we'll have to contact the Tribune.
Can I talk to you guys about that? So, the last time I tried to contact them, the Bismarck Tribune won't take that information. They want you to write it all out on their new site that they use for column. And the only way you can write it out is if you have it printed.
No, this sounds- will help.
Can I work?
Who is it?
Stephanie.
Meeting needs to be noticed and posted. And we'll work with whoever's here to make sure that we get the requirements together.
I'll make it print, I can make it. I have a wedding tomorrow. I mean, in here, I have a wedding. So. I'll come in the morning.
Okay, I'll check with. Yeah, realtor to do that, so.
Can you see if he can be available?
Yes. Yeah, he was out of town last week, so. All right, any other discussion on? Okay, number 9 on the agenda is the sewer regionalization easement proposal update.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, so this week, Greg and I had a telephone conference with, I can't remember the name of the entity, but it was the last entity that concerning the easements. My understanding now is all of the permanent easement, all the landowners have provided lease oral agreement to the city's request for easements. The only open issues for the permanent easements are the rate of compensation, and forwarded today to the appraiser, the preliminary approval for his work, and explain what we would like him to work on. We're still waiting to hear from the city of Bismarck as to whether the city of Bismarck, or I should say all of the private landowners have approved the easement in principle. I don't know if we've received approval yet from the city of Bismarck.
City of Bismarck has given me essentially the official person that's gonna make the decisions, but talking through their engineering department, they don't see any issues with it, so it's just a matter of getting that right person to give us their approval. So, and they had also, through engineering, said they don't anticipate there being any requests for any compensation.
Sorry.
So no pay for easements?
For the city, and so it's, yeah, it's explained to the appraiser that we likely will not have to include that land in the work that is being done. And so we'll have more of an update on that at the next meeting, but I think there's one temporary easement that we have not yet got approval yet for. I don't think it's going to be an issue, just haven't connected.
And that'll cut the appraisal cost in half.
I don't
They can help, right? That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if that's complete, then we'll go on to number 10, Moon Ridge Drainage.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I don't have an update on this. Greg and I had a conversation, I believe the day before the 2nd of October meeting, before the last meeting, and there's some follow-up that needs to happen. And we'll report back, just have not had a chance to move that forward yet.
Item 11, under new business, Becky Almond, Girl Scouts street closure.
I was asked to have this added on, but there was no extra information in the email, so I was hoping she would be here to explain on why and where. However, not the case.
All right, well, then we will carry on. Number 12, the resolution, vacation of right of way, Calgary Avenue.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, as was being discussed a little bit during the public hearing, public comment portion of the meeting. And there's a memo that from Gavin Mint from my office. In February of 2023, the council went through the steps to vacate the street right away. It looks to us, and looking at the records, that all of the procedural requirements and the voting was completed. But the statute then requires a written resolution to be signed and published with all the rest of the city's resolutions, and then that resolution has to be filed or recorded with the Early County Recorder. So when this issue came up, we weren't 100% certain whether we needed to start the process over and have the council re-vote and redo the notices, and our conclusion is that that's not necessary. It's just really administrative oversight. So we'll work with the auditor and the mayor to get the resolution executed, and then we'll work to get that recorded. So that there's no action item, but just to let everybody know that we will be completing that, and we believe that the actions previously taken is still valid, and there's no need to go through all the steps again.
Perfect. Next, we have portfolios. Councilman Davis.
We have a question in the audience first.
Are you gonna put us in there, or do you want to do the portfolios first?
We
For the amendment?
you missed the amended. I am so sorry. I was just looking at it. So, okay, yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have a number.
Questions for us?
Would you like to come up, Reed?
Okay, I'm Elizabeth Fleming. Hi, I'm Amanda Gribb. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks. So we are the original owners of the gym. And in our lease with the current management, if they ever decided to leave, they have to transfer the license and the information back to us. So along with Amanda, she's going to be managing it with us. There is a manager on staff there now currently that's going to stay with us. And so that's where Furry Friends comes in. We've gotten all the state licenses, everything is continued at the Attorney General's office, it's all approved. And we actually even have our license for 2025. So they've approved everything, but part of that is that we also have to go back to the city, transfer the license back to us. And then upon transferring it back to us, that's why Furry Friends has to, because they also have to go through the Attorney General. They lease space from us, so they have to have approval from the city. Once we are approved to have the license back. So it's kind of a process here, but so we need to get our license approved to transfer back to us. And then we have to redo our leases with the Furry Friends people so that they can take it back to the Attorney General's office, because the gaming has some very specific rules for them, just like they do with the liquor licenses. So I don't know if that's a long explanation, if I did that very well.
So Beth, are you looking for DJs to accept the gaming or furry friends to accept the gaming?
Okay, so DJs needs to have our liquor license or on and off sale and our restaurant licenses transferred back to our ownership. The girls in the office have all the paperwork. So, it took us a little bit because with the transfer back, the state requires that we have the health inspection and the fire inspection and all those things. So,
So let's get that done then. I'll make a motion to transfer the ownership of DJ's alcohol license.
We have first, is there a second?
I second that motion.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
I,
Any discussion? And so moved.
okay, and then the furry friends, we just have to accept them that they can lease from us. And it's approved by you because again, that's the gaming license requirements.
I make a motion that, you can,
Lease the space to
lease
furry
the
friends.
space to furry friends.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first by Councilman Antonia, second by Councilman Davis. All in favor say aye.
I,
Any discussion? So moved.
Okay, we'll move forward with all of that, and if there's any reason, we'll file any paperwork that the state requires back with you. Or if you notice something that we need to do in addition to, please just let us know.
perfect. Thank you, Beth and Amanda.
Now we carry on to portfolios.
I have nothing to report this week.
All right. Councilman Praska had to exit, Councilman Antonia.
So I just want to reiterate that we are fully staffed in the police department. We do currently have 2 officers who are finishing up their training. We do have 24/7 coverage. Please notify anyone that you know would be interested in working for the police department here in Lincoln. We currently have that position. That is a 1-year position as it stands with the COPS grant. So we are currently, we have a position posted on both Indeed and Job Service. So if you're aware of anybody who we think would fit the bill, they can apply there for that position that is open. And then if you have, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about any of their end of October doings, the police officers are involved with some community things going on, and we encourage you to reach out to them. They are doing a fabulous job, and I just want to give them credit where credit is due. They've been working very hard, and I think our community should be loud and proud about thanking them and appreciating their work. That's all I have to say.
Councilman Johnson.
Public Works has finished, replacing some of the street signs that needed, to be replaced, some of them were fading, some of them were different sizes, something it was just kind of fit random. They've been working on cleaning some storm drains for the Parks Department. We had a fall cleanup last Saturday and that went well. Scott Horse passed his CDL test. They hauled grass out of the dump site over there and cleaned up storm drains on Dakota. They also took part in Bismarck's equipment rodeo. So they had fun with some competitions, driving around some of the loaders, some graders and stuff like that. So it sounds like they actually did pretty well.
Interesting behavior.
Yeah.
Did you get your belt buckle?
The F-550 is in process of getting the bed and crane put on it, so that can be put to work here pretty soon. And they finished up doing all the weed whacking around the lagoon, so.
Busy week. Us. And then what I am handing out, and I'm sorry, like I said, I just pulled into town. They're Kim right with MPO is sharing this information. Oh, did I send you my budget? The government partner program, they are looking for approval for the city of Lincoln to participate in a government partner program. I don't know if anybody has heard, but there's restoration of passenger rail coming through, and it would run perpendicular to I-94. And there, this organization, Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority, is looking for sign on for these different communities. Benefits are lined out here. The program created by Big Sky to assist communities along a potential passenger rail route with planning and development initiatives, such as building or renovating train stations along the route, developing relevant services near the stations, creating destinations, creating connection transit services and other transportation opportunities. What they do need is a certain number of communities to buy into this in order for MPO to continue supporting this project. And the costs for our areas are lined out there. For Lincoln, it would be that $30 to $270. Now, in my discussions with her, she said it will be $30. And it's just saying, hey, we're on board with this. We're gonna pay our $30 to be part of the process. We'll definitely benefit from having that in our region. So, but I do have a couple examples of letters of support that I could pen up, just saying, simply Lincoln is on board with this. But I do need approval or a motion to approve the city of Lincoln participation in the government partner program. It would be a cost of $30.
Just for a question for discussion, it says, government partner program, so what is funding the MPO? Like, where is the other 80% of the funds coming from? Is that taxpayer dollars?
Well, all of it ultimately is, are you talking about the fee to be part of it? We're not building it. Big
Right.
Sky is the one that's taking care of it.
So I'm just wondering, it says that they are taking, they're paying 80% of this. Where are those funds coming from? Is it taxpayer dollars?
I would assume it, because this is just the fee, that 80% is covered by the MPO.
Right, but where is that money coming from? Is that taxpayer dollars? That's my question. Because it sounds
This
like
this $4,800?
the 80%.
Yes. Yes. Because it's a state agency.
Mayor, council members, so the remaining part of the funding can either comes through federal funds or state funds through the DOT that goes to MPO. And their MPO is able to support these type of projects or things with those funding sources. So directly, all that funding comes from taxpayers. It's just whether we get that allotment or someone else does.
And so is the MPO, is that people who've been elected into those positions?
No, those are state positions.
So it's, okay, state positions and taxpayer funded. Just to be clear, right? The MPO is
The
not elected
metropolitan.
officials, it's people who have been brought in at a state level for that position, right?
It's a full-time state job
Right.
working for him.
And this,
I'll like,
Yeah, so MPO, there's a few different MPO regions within the state. Bismarck has one, Carlos another, and so on and so forth. So they are local, the MPO, Bismarck, Mandan, Lincoln, Burley County, Martin County. And they are hired individuals within the area that work on
these type of transportation, projects and try to facilitate, the acquisition of federal and state dollars to be applied to the federal and state programs appropriately.
So some of the things that are done locally is like determining where those collector roads are, where the city should put roads. Working with the different partners like the DOT, safety issues where we could put stuff. Lights, and, you know, they're the ones who do the tracking of.
Yeah,
Yes.
the balance, they kind of manage the safety studies, a lot of the study type work that's done within our region.
So it's not specific to this one project.
Sure. I just haven't heard anything about this in particular project, and it makes me curious as to find out, you know, what is the need, what is the benefit? I know it's like, why make a big deal for $30, but I want the information.
Right. Yeah, oh, and absolutely. And they talk about it. I do have more information. Well, this is a summary of the project. It has been discussed at the MPO level, not necessarily at a council level. But I know that they would be more than happy to come in and talk about it. And then I believe that we are going to have Rachel at one of our meetings coming up in November, that first week in November, to talk about some of this stuff. And this would more likely be part of that.
Right, yeah, she'd be able to answer a lot of these questions.
She's the director of MPO.
So we don't have to make a decision.
Well,
Right
for
away,
me
right
to
away?
do the support letter. Okay. And the total, because, and that's the reason she reached out to me this afternoon was, because there hadn't been any response. They've got 3 of them currently, or we would be the third. Mandan, Morton, and Burley. And Burley, so they're looking for us. Bismarck hasn't committed, as of what I'm aware. But at least 3 of the 5 need to agree for the MPO to proceed.
And Bismarck hasn't yet?
No. Mandan has, Burley County has.
It's so $3 you have.
Well, it shows 2 on
But
the
it
back.
says 2 on this one, so I don't want to say absolutely yes. I believe there's a 3rd one. I thought I heard, but they did need to have action on it. It does go through the end of
And this is the
October, and this is the
12
last meeting for. Yeah, because I believe it's October 31st that it has to be.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
is only for a year, it says, right?
Yes. Yeah, and then they would come back next
Yeah.
year. Are we going to, is this gonna cost the city or the state too much? Or how to describe it, you know, it gives them time to say, okay, Big Sky, yes, we are interested in this. Let's work on it. It's kind of the buy-in question, if we're gonna buy into it.
Yeah, essentially, they're kind of running up against the deadlines, so they're trying to catch everyone's either council commission meetings. And that to when they're available to. So at the MPO meetings, I can say just in general, all the MPs have been in support of it. Felt it was a good thing for the community.
And I know the one just last week, or was that this week? Yeah, this week, yeah. You know, the cost for the larger areas is the buy-in. You know, nobody wants to pay. But I think, you know, say we're able to do that, well, we're gonna bring more money in for tourism, possibly. I mean, even getting north and south versus driving, I think is gonna be. And all the roads. You know, maybe in the winter time we could take a train instead, I don't know, it's not gonna. Here nor there for me, but
I guess in my opinion, I think $30 is reasonable for the city to pay to see how this can benefit our citizens.
Try it out for a year and see
Yeah.
if you like it.
Like it says in there, there's no long-term commitment. It's $30 for the year to see where things will go for us. And if we don't see it actually being much of a benefit to the city, then we just don't do it. Sure.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve participating for $30.
I'll second that motion.
so we have the first by Councilman Bernstein, second by Councilman Davis. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed?
I,
Motion carries. And so I will send a letter to align with basically just stating that we're in support of. I can send out a letter, that letter for anybody to review. If you would like, if. Yeah, and then roll call vote. We'll do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I was writing
Sorry.
something down and I was like, okay, take the roll call, vote. Do a roll call. Vote.
Thank you.
Yes.
Davis,
yes,
Archivia.
No.
All right,
Is Councilwoman Proska no longer?
No, she's
No
not.
longer in attendance, okay.
so then. The. Just wanted to share. That October. Is the month that. We obtained. Our city auditor. So she has been here a year, working very hard diligently. She passed her certification. Says she's an official city auditor.
Congratulations.
Also, congratulations. Always on her work. Thank you.
Cheers.
But I thank you.
yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Then, so. Sorry. We'll streamline what I was gonna say, train of thought. So, MPO, City of Bismarck and, the Burley County. I did attend Apple Creek, so those are meetings that I attended. This month so far. And our city engineer and I are going to Horace, October 23rd. Their city, they started as this bedroom community and it has grown. Their infrastructure, how they've done their planning, they have their special assessments that are gonna kind of sit down and visit with us. The policies, procedures that they have used. So it'll be great, we'll do a tour of the city, how they have kind of tackled some of these things, because we're in that process right now. I don't know if anybody wants to go with. I know we can't have a quorum, but I think it's just it's the 23rd. The mayor is taking his day, and then there's city engineer, the city administrator, and the portfolio holder, I think. And it's mostly gonna be geared towards that infrastructure and finding those dollars available for that. And we've had a lot of talk about that city center. So some of that. So if you have any questions or anything that you want us to bring there, if you want to drive along with, there's that opportunity. Trunk or treat, I believe, is Saturday. I don't have my calendar, 26th. I don't either. But I can get that and have Tammy put it online. I don't have my stuff with me. Now, one of the things is, the school had reached out if we wanted to do something. So. Either as a council, I know I am willing to do what I can, handing out the candies. Council, anybody, I mean, it would be like a volunteer thing, did that. 1 to 3. 1 to 3.
I know the police department is going to be there, vehicles there and be involved in.
And, not
We-
for public
We
works.
won't be there. I'll be out of town. I have my brother's wedding, so. And then I asked the other guys if they wanted to do it, and they all have stuff going on that day too, so. This year we will not make it.
I don't know the city, so I will, did you respond back?
I'll help if you guys need help and I can get some volunteers from the furry friends if we need to.
Yeah, no kitties.
It's only 2 hours. We'll get people to help.
Yeah.
If the city wants to be representative.
I will be there,
Okay.
but
You go with the mayor, that'd be good.
with the mayor, so anybody who wants to join. It'd be a disco ball. So, there you go, okay. And I can't remember what else. So I think, oh. Since you're here. Let me,
Is there what?
the comprehensive plan, can I ask you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that we didn't have anything yet because Greg was gone and then we were also asking, I think Greg, you were gonna ask the MPO about those traffic counts for, was it class 4 and up? We wanted to know the breakout of those traffic counts.
Yes, they have not sent anything back.
Okay, would you have time to touch base with them and find out?
Sure.
So, cause we did get the traffic counts, but we wanted some breakouts on that. So. Yeah. And I think we can go forward from there. We have touched base with the park and they're gonna work with us. And so I think we're just kind of waiting on other people to get us information.
Thank you. I just went through that and then that would be my report for this.
And again, I was just, like I said, I did put in the back of your guys's packet, with some attachments, how much was in the prairie dog fund and how much was in the ARP fund and things that you can use them for.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, Tammy and I, had like 3 webinars this week alone, a couple of them were for office cybersecurity, ways to stay safe, she had a human resource, one. And we have a couple more coming up. One of them is if the marijuana measure passes, what do officers do
If can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
for the marijuana measure, if it passes?
I'm sorry, I just didn't hear the first.
Oh, they talk about, they're having a webinar that if it were to pass, how you'll deal with that in your office or that kind of stuff, we've just been busy.
Nice, okay, perfect.
All right, I guess we've completed the business that's on our agenda. Anything for the good?
Just, I hope everybody has a happy and safe Halloween. Please make sure that you are watching those kiddos. They're gonna be darting around and running from door to door, so just be aware, speed limit is 15 and happy Halloween.
All right, thank you. It is 7:25 at least at the gym. Oh, it's actually 7:20. 7:28. Thank you.
We got this is the second time. Hopefully this has been last years, but we did do it. November 1st, right?
Yeah.
She's worked in the bar.
Actually, I
started to go to
Oh, cool. It's just up to us.
I was just curious.
Nobody knows.
Well, still didn't like do.
Metro over here, full of paperwork, and they were all looking at it like, there you go.
Yeah, you know, get to the end.
Okay, you guys, yeah. So, yeah. Well, you're staying in touch, or are you heading next door, or are you heading home? Okay, I think we'll stop just real quick. There's a week, there's plenty to go over. Yeah.
Yes, and nice to meet you, nice to meet you,
Yeah.
You guys happen to have a sample ballot?
Do not have any.
Getting the no.
Hold on.
I
know, adjourn, hit end.
Good luck, go again.
Stop and end. And
Right.
Yeah.
meeting for all.